Hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. This channel, I like to make content on books as well as homeschool, and most of the homeschool content will include books. So thank you for stopping by. Today's video is about what I plan on reading in the month of February. So I do plan on participating in a read-a-thon called Historathon. It's basically a read-a-thon that has to do with historical fiction. It's hosted by Sarah of Sarah's Nightstand and Amanda of The Curly Reader. And I will link both their channels below as well as the announcement video from Amanda's channel, because one of the books, the group read, has a Discord group. I'm planning on doing the group read as well as a few of the other prompts. So let me show you what those are. So the group read is The Fountains of Silence by read-a-thon. So this is a book that takes place in Spain. It takes place in Spain in the 1950s, and which is about 20 years after the Spanish Civil War. And that's basically what this book is focusing on, is the time frame after the Civil War, when the country is still in a bit of an upheaval, because following the Civil War, the side that won basically put in a dictator that is oppressing the people. And in the 50s, that is still very much the case. And so basically it's following kind of the aftermath of that and the current state of the country. And in this book in particular, it's following a family that is local, that has lived through the crisis or lived through the war, as well as a family, I believe, or at least a young man who comes to Spain during that time frame in order to kind of look into his mom's history. It's told through their vantage point, so I'm looking forward to reading it. I hear most of her books are fairly heart-wrenching, so I'm expecting no less of this, since it is about an oppressed country following a war. But it's the group read, which I'm really looking forward to, and I am planning on jumping in on that Discord group and just sharing my thoughts. So I'm really looking forward to getting this one started. So the second book that I want to read for the Historathon read-a-thon is The Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton. I've been wanting to read more Kate Morton books. I've heard that they are really good. And so this one is for the prompt, let's see, a book set outside of the US or Europe. And it starts in Australia, but it quickly then moves to England, London, and some other places. So I'm still going to count it, because the story starts out with a 4-year-old girl who found her way onto a boat that was sailing from England to Australia, and she somehow got abandoned. And she finds herself on the pier in Australia, and the dock master finds her, and it's late at night, and she's all by herself. She's 4 years old. So he takes her in, and he expects that someone will be contacting him about this missing child, and no one ever does. And so he and his wife raise her. And that's kind of the beginning, and that's how the story is set up. And then he does eventually tell her. He tells her on her 21st birthday. And I think the story then is basically her, and actually her and her granddaughter. They kind of switch through the perspectives between the two as they work out what happened. How did this girl end up in Australia by herself? Because that's halfway across the world. I have a 4-year-old girl, and I can't imagine her being put on a boat and her adjusting to that. So it's a very interesting premise. I'm really curious as to what happened that resulted in that. So looking forward to reading this book for that prompt. And then the other one that I'm definitely reading for the Historathon is The War That Saved My Life by Kimberly, Brubaker, Bradley. This is for the prompt, a book with a child as a character. So it talks about a girl who has a clubfoot. And what happened is her mother has been abusing her and mistreating her, and not allowing her out of the house, and not even allowing her to get the surgery that needs to happen on a clubfoot, and all these things. And so she's in a terrible situation with her mother. And then prior to the bombings starting in London, all the kids were sent to the countryside, and her brother was going to be sent, and her mom just wasn't going to bother sending her. And so she actually escaped and got herself on the train to the country, and then the book is supposed to be more about her story as she then kind of heals, grows up, adjusts to a life that's not under such an oppressive and unloving mother. She gets taken in, her and her brother get taken in by a woman who didn't necessarily want kids, but what I've heard of this book is it's just a lovely story of how they both kind of heal. The children heal, and the woman who takes them in, and they form a family. And so it's a middle grade book, and I've heard some wonderful things about it. I actually initially picked it up because it's one of those books I would like to read aloud to my kids when they're old enough. Obviously, a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old is not quite old enough for World War II, no matter if it's middle grade or not, but I wanted to have read it in order to then share it with them later. So that works for this prompt. There's 2 other books I do want to show you that in case I have time, I would like to also get to them. There's a prompt for dual timelines in the read-a-thon. I picked As Bright as Heaven by Susan Meisner. So this book is a story of a family in Philadelphia in the early 1900s, and it's a story of the Spanish flu as the Spanish flu went through the community and really decimating it in so many ways. It's a story about this family and how they overcome loss, and they actually also take in an orphan boy who lost his family due to the flu, and it's a story about that. So it sounds good, but it also sounds very, very hard to read. So I'm looking forward to it if I have time. Regardless, I do want to read it. I'm just trying to decide if I will read it in February or not. And the other one is Burial Rites by Hannah Kent, and it's for the prompt, read a story involving an unfamiliar event to you. And so this is about a woman, and it's basically the story of the last execution that was performed in Iceland on this woman who was accused of murdering 2 men. And it kind of goes through her story as she's awaiting execution. So it looks very interesting, and I definitely want to read it at some point, maybe February. We'll see. So those 5, probably 3, are what I want to read for the Historathon. So I'm looking forward to that. It's just fun. And then I have a couple others that are just like things I want to continue reading, as well as pick up. So for the continue reading one, I'm still reading The 5 Love Languages of Children by Gary Chapman and Ross Campbell. It's basically about learning the different love languages of children and then how to best find out what your children are and love them accordingly. And then the last one in my stack for this month is called The Sixth Extinction by Elizabeth Kolbert. So I wanted to kind of jump back into reading more science. So this is a nonfiction science book, and it's about what the title sounds like it's about. It's basically about what scientists are predicting to be an upcoming mass extinction. So we've had 5 mass extinctions on our planet, and the science that scientists are reading currently is that the effect of humans on our planet, on the species, on climate, on various things are setting into motion what will probably result in the 6th extinction. The idea that species that used to be fairly stable are starting to collapse. There's starting to be reasons that they are going down to very small numbers or becoming extinct altogether. Or she takes an approach of going kind of through some historical evidence, such as like fossil records or the mastodon and different extinct animals, as well as some current examples like amphibians or frogs or the rhino, things like that, from what I can tell in her table of contents. So yes, I'm looking forward to kind of reading what she has to say and then seeing if kind of she backs up kind of such a big claim of we are on the precipices of the 6th extinction. That's a big statement. So I'm really curious as to how she makes her argument. So hopefully I'll get that done this month. It feels like a big read, and it's actually one I want to try my hand at annotating and seeing how that goes, and just diving a little bit deeper into it. So that's my plan. So yes, thank you for taking the time to watch this video, to listen to my upcoming book plans. Please comment down below if you've read any of these books, or if you have anything to say about them, or if you think I'll like them. As well as just please take a look in the description box at any of the links if you're interested in participating in the Historathon, the historical fiction read-a-thon. So I'm really looking forward to it. So That's all I have for this video, but thank you for watching, and I will see you again next time. Okay, take care. Thanks.